Hey guys, happy Wednesday, aka Hump Day. Welcome back to the show. Glad you can make it. This is 17 and some change. Ekuda 17 here to bring you my 2 cents. Cool. What's on the agenda today? I wanted to start off by giving y'all a quick antidote. It's about something I found while I was just surfing the web the other day. Um, Do people still typically say surfing the web? Well, that's what I was doing. Um, I was on like Microsoft or whatever, and I saw one of those. I saw a headline. It said um, that back in ancient Egypt, royalty used to use what was essentially fart catchers. So they would have these long meals. They would have these 3 to 4 hour meals, and they would use, eventually they would fight, and so they would have these fart catchers so that it captures the sounds and it captures the smells, and their guests don't think that they're humans, you know. And so I thought that was pretty interesting. I don't have the name. I tried like going back and like Googling it and seeing like what these things were called, but I couldn't refine that. But fart catchers, catcher in the rye. But yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. What I don't think is interesting is the fact that I have these nesting birds effing around in my house, in my wall, and shit like that. Um, so I've always like they're big birds, like they're like the size of a water bottle. They're these black birds, and they have like fucking like 4-inch beaks and shit like that. And they used to um they used to make holes in like the side of in the side of my building, and then they would like nest or whatever, and I would catch them, and I would close up the hole, and I wouldn't see them for like a year. And then like these past few months, I've noticed there was a lot of activity from these like blackbirds around my building, and they were using an old satellite, and um they were seemed to be like porched above on top of my roof. And I was like, yo, why does my house seem to be the one? Like every time I would look outside, or every time I would hear some kind of like bird activity, it was coming from my my vicinity. And I'm looking, I don't see the hole on the side of the building. So I'm like, they didn't, like, they're not like nesting here. Why is my building like the one that they like the most for scouting and shit like that? Um then I started hearing like different noises. It was like a lot, it was chirping that was like a lot lower. And I decided to step out, and I was like, what's going on here? So I stepped outside. I stepped out on the window, on there's like a platform, and they hadn't she, he, it, they, because like I don't know if it's more than one. I think it's like since this had happened, like at the time I didn't know if it was more than one. Like since this had happened, I'm realizing. Um, but like, so there was actually one of the tiles missing above my head. So what they did is like they removed the tile from like above where my window would be, so like I couldn't even see it. And but like to get you there, I missed the part where I heard no, I told you I heard like lower lower level chirps, and so like I stepped outside and um I checked it out. There was a hole on top of the window, and um and I heard like little tiny chirps coming from inside the house. Basically, there were babies like in the fucking in the thing in the wall and stuff like that now, and so like I didn't murder them, obviously. Um, right now I'm kind of just like I guess 3 to 6 weeks, and then they fly away, and then I can like close the thing up or whatever. But or I can get a company in here and they can like relocate them or something like that. But it's a pain in the butt. You know what I mean? It's I don't like. I mean, I don't know how y'all feel, but I don't really like critters. I don't like shit that destroys your shit. I don't like shit like little shit like that like eats your stuff or like poops or like does anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's hard enough to keep my own shit like organized and clean and sanitary and stuff like that in your own house. But you don't need some kind of birds or raccoons or like mice or like anything like bats or like anything. You don't need like critters and shit like just making your life that much more difficult. And their sounds suck too. Their sounds are annoying. Like when they're like scratching on walls or you know, whatever the hell they do. Um, yeah, we love wooden homes in Massachusetts. We love wooden homes. I don't like wooden homes. I like stone houses and brick houses. They're more mold resistant. They're more stain resistant. They're more durable. Like I don't know. I just don't like the fact that like homes they like rot and bend and warp like wood. Like yeah, it'll last you like 100 years and stuff like that theoretically, but needs a lot of upgrades in the meantime, and it's not as durable and cleanly as I would like it to be. Um, if I ever get to that point, my next is stone and bricks. I like stone and bricks for homes. You know what I mean? And like the plumbing's all fucked up too. Like, I was talking to Chat GPT the other day about it, and the plumbing system, because everywhere I turn around, well, whether it's work or the households, like people are always having issues with low water pressure or pipes clogging up, plumbing issues. And to me, I'm like, it's 2025. Like, why can we not like, why can we not have plumbing that like works, you know, um, and doesn't back up and provides like fast like water pressure and shit like that. And and you know they say, oh well, it's the type of things that you dump down the toilet and there's or down the sink. Like a lot of it's consumer issues with products that go down, and um, and then time. There's build up over time and stuff like that. And then you got like the shrinking and the expanding of the pipes based on like weather and stuff like that and temperatures. And they gave all these reasons, and I'm like, well, what about the fact that our pipes are shaped like L's? And what about all these elbows and shit? Like, this is what, if we had a pipe that went straight down, you wouldn't have these issues. You're using gravity, water, and gravity. Like, you shouldn't get clogs if shit went straight down. And then apparently, according to Chat GPT, that's called like stacked plumbing. And places like hotels and stuff like that will do that to make it simpler. Just go like straight down with it. But because modern consumers want aesthetics and accessibility and stuff like that in their homes, they don't typically stack all the piping or whatever. And so, no, I am all for a revolution of plumbing, or maybe, you know, I don't know, just an observation. I think, let's go back to these stacked freaking go back to the stacked plumbing. Like, there's no need to have pipes that wind and turn. I think that's the stupidest thing. Stupidest thing. Um, but I'm being facetious to an extent, because obviously I'm not a expert on any of this, but um, just my 2 cents. Uh, and then I was like, yo, it would actually be cool too if walls weren't like one piece of wood, empty gap, and another piece of wood. And it's like, so like, we have no idea what's going on behind our walls. You know what I mean? Like, there could be so many things and poops and like webs and like just shit. Like, we have no idea what's going on behind our walls, where our wires are, all that shit. So I was like, I don't know. I just don't like hollow walls. Like, why don't we have like either that goes back to bricks or like some plastic walls? But I don't know. ChatGPT gave a lot of pushback on the plastic walls. Apparently, there would be a lot of issues, there. I kind of want to move on to not an introduction of myself. Um, I mean, obviously not an introduction, not like a biography, but like I want to like scratch the surface a little bit, as far as like my credentials. Um, just briefly, like, I'll do another episode maybe, or have it come up organically in other episodes, or just do like part by part, whatever it is, um, for y'all to kind of get to know where I'm coming from with a lot of my ideas, and like I said, main word being like credentials or whatever. Um, so I think one semi important piece of information that you guys could know is that I spent about a decade in sales. I did all kinds of sales. I did door to door sales. I've done corporate sales. I've done box office sales, not box office, but like box stores. I've done, international, domestic, um, traveling sales, presentations. I've sold knives. I've sold scallops and fish and jewelry and alcohol. And I was decent. Like I was decent at sales, especially if I had enthusiasm about the product or if I had a connection with one of the customers. I was pretty good at it. Um, People tended to like me when I was enthusiastic, um, or when I felt a connection towards them. But I didn't overall. I didn't like the culture. I didn't like the culture of sales. I didn't like strong arming sales closes. I didn't like trying to convince people that they needed something that I knew they didn't need. Um, I didn't like the being told to be a shark within my own communities. Um, yeah, and there's like this certain thing that happens to salespeople, to like the successful salespeople, or uh, a percentage of the successful salespeople, where they get like this giddiness, like they get like this hop in their step and like this exuberance, and it's very theatrical and it's very egotistical and it's very ugly. And so yeah, I didn't really like being around sales. I have had a business. I've been I launched a business, or I've been working on a business like 5 years ago. Um, and I have, you know, I don't really want to pump my product here, but like I have books and I have shoes and I have all these different things. And I never really used my sales experience to create a marketing campaign because I don't really like sales. I don't like hyping um, myself. I don't like that, which is why I kind of didn't succeed in the pickup world, because I don't really like bloviating. Um, and so yeah, so I got out of sales and stuff like that. And but that's why, yeah, I don't do too much hyping on myself on my own products, and I got out of sales and stuff like that. And maybe I'll get like a marketing team or something someday. But um, I moved on towards like the humanitarian work, and I mean, I like the cause a lot more. I like the cause a lot more. I feel like I have a platform in which I can give back to society that I would have never that that it makes it a lot easier to give back to society than just being on my own, right? Than the things that I can do on my own. Um, I did some addiction counseling, addiction recovery specialist, and I did. I don't want to like give specifics really on kind of like what I do for a living now because I'm still kind of active in it. But like I'm in the mental health field, right? And I've worked with addiction, and I've worked with um, depression and different things like that. I've been like about half a decade, like five plus years total in this fields, and you know, went back to school to further up my knowledge on it and stuff like that, on mental health, on psychology. And so kind of that's just like a couple tidbits as to who I am, right? I've done sales, I've dabbled in the pickup arts, um, which I'm certainly not proud of, but definitely learned something. Um, and and I've spent um the time since then as a humanitarian, um so to speak, doing addiction and mental health work and stuff like this. Um, so that's a little bit about me um, for today. I wanted to I wanted to go into the topic of the day to be AI, and I really like the Q&A. I really like the Q&A format for a lot of these topics that I picked to talk about. So, um, so I'm gonna do it in that format here today. Um, I'm not gonna really set it up. I'm not gonna really set it up. I don't have much to say um, to set up AI. Um, a lot of you use AI or see the prevalency of it growing. I've been excited about it for years. Um, it's one of the reasons humanity has to survive. One of the many reasons we have to survive is to see how this plays out. Um, and it's one of the most fascinating philosophical topics you could touch on because it's new, right? Like it's rare to have something new to talk about in the field of philosophy. It's new. It's potentially it's revolutionary, um, and the implications are um, astronomical and therefore phenomenal to ponder, right? Um, so the first question I got here um, says, "Do you feel like AI is a tool for the people or a weapon for corporations?" Um, and my first instinct was to kind of chuckle at the distinction between people and corporations. It's kind of like what's more important, the individual or the collective? Well, the collective is merely a group of individuals. Um, but I understand like we separate them um, for like legal, financial reasons and stuff like that. I think AI is gonna be a accessible. Is gonna be a tool that can be helpful to both the individual user and the corporation. But you know, as with anything, the rich get richer. So like the corporations now they have more access um, at a larger scale. So it's AI is going to benefit them more, right? That's all that is. Um, do you think regular creators will still have a chance to use AI to level the fields, or is it going to be a constant race to catch up with whatever the giants do next? I mean, I think the ladder will still exist, like the ladder, like not ladder, but the climbable ladder. Um, Entrepreneurial. Um, Small businesses turn into large businesses collapse. Um, there's there's always going to be that ebb and flow. So you'll use AI to help you grow and grow and grow, and maybe you'll surpass some of these corporations that looked a lot larger than you when you started off, right? I don't think it's just like, okay, we have our 12 largest corporations today are going to be our 12 largest corporations tomorrow, um, necessarily type shit. Um, what excites you about AI and what makes you nervous? Um, the exciting thing about AI is the fact, I'll just, is the idea of us, turning into some kind of demigods. The idea that we can, like, space colonization is another fascinating topic to me. But, like, I don't even know how exclusive these two can be anymore, because AI is gonna help us with that shit. Like, AI is gonna help us explore space. It's gonna help us cure disease. It's gonna help us solve, like, existential problems. Like, it's gonna streamline workflow. It's gonna, like, the possibilities, um if implemented correctly, are endless. Like, it can turn us into, like, cyborgs that are like futuristic video games where we could freaking jump from, like, one building to another building because we're combining robotics and artificial intelligence. Like, you look at Neuralink and shit like that, where, like, we're talking about, like, healing the blind, and, like, I do it's and that's exciting and wild, and all these things. And then, like, what can it do for my business? Like, what can it do for your business? It's like, well, it can streamline a lot of these tasks that you need to do in that too, and it can help you out as, as an agent, as a tool, um as a creator. Like, it can, help you sketch things out, concept arts, and different things. And, um you know it can help you gather your ideas. And, but the scary thing is, if everybody has that, and you lose your individuality, right? That's or you know and that's what it is to me. Like, um you lose your individuality, or your earning potential. That's what's scary to me. It's funny that I didn't say, like, world's demise, or, like, destruction, like all the opposites of what I had mentioned for, what I'm optimistic about, right? And I don't know. I mean, I don't really see, like, the AI or overlord scenario. Um, or not that I don't see it, I don't feel it. Like, I just don't feel like that's what's gonna happen. Like, I don't feel like they're gonna be singular consciousness. Like, even if AI did someday in the world in the future gain a consciousness, like, I don't think it's gonna be a singular consciousness. They call it the singularity or whatever. Like, I don't think it's gonna be a singular consciousness. I think that there most likely will be factions. I think there's no way that, if AI gets to the point of consciousness, that um, no faction will have a reverence for humanity, that no faction will look to humans as like their parents, you know what I mean? And like really appreciate like their birth as like a species, piggybacking off of, you know, millions of years of human evolution. Right? There's no way that none of these, no conscious AI is gonna feel that or think that way. No, there's, if these guys do, if AI does become conscious, I think it'll be factionated at the very least, at the very worst, and there will be plenty that are endeared to humans and want to work with us and stuff like that. Right. I think AI will ever replace real human connection, or is that line uncrossable? Um, I said, yeah, I do think it would replace human connection, especially with a lot of introverts. There are people who don't like to associate with other humans in the first place, and as soon as AI is good enough, these people will be more than happy to incorporate an AI into their life, a robot or a robot, right? Um, I don't think that that makes the connection better, but these people will never really were able to connect with humans in the first place. So, like, yeah, I think AI will be able to replace human connection. Do I think that it will be better than human connection? No, I don't. I don't, and I don't see how that could ever be the case. Um, just when we're talking about heartbeats and eye contacts and like share, like just like I don't want to say it, but like just the smell of another person, like you know what I mean, just like the smell of a woman, or like, but like I don't. So like I don't know. I don't know if AI can ever, like robots can ever be better in some of those regards. Like um, and that was kind of the next question. Like, do you think there's any coming back from that once it starts, or once substitution is accepted, does that value of real connection shrink for good? And I said it would take some sort of miraculous encounter and, you know, something real world, skin on skin, breath in the room type connection, um, to differentiate. To, um, ba da ba ba ba. Where do you draw the line between using AI as inspiration versus becoming dependent on it? Um, I kind of like AI to, I don't know, it's becoming harder and harder to not use. You know what I mean? At first it's like, hey, can you edit this and look for any mistakes? And then it's like, hey, can you kind of like fill in the gaps on this and stuff like that? And it's tough. It's like trying not to use a as a creator. It's like trying not to use a calculator to help you with your math, you know. And it's like, um, I enjoy creating, but like linguistic models are so helpful in the process. They're so helpful. They're so useful in so many ways, and I just think it's um there's a spectrum there. And that's probably a term that I will use 10,000 times throughout this podcast is spectrums. Um, but no, there's definitely a spectrum there. If you're just using it to edit your work, then that's really like a tool. If you're having it write half of your paper, that's a collaboration. If you're having it write your whole paper off of one prompt, then that's more of uh, you're the tool. um, but I think it's important. Um, I think it's important to keep an eye open for becoming dependent on it. But then again, what happens if you're dependent on a calculator? Um, do you think? Do you believe AI? How long have we got? 30. Do you believe AI art and stories will ever be considered legitimate, or will they always carry an asterisk? Um, I mean, I think they should always carry an asterisk, no matter what. Like, even if they we should always separate them from humans, right? Even if they develop, once again, even if they develop consciousness, I think we should still, and they gain rights. We can give them rights as conscious, self-aware entities. Even if we got to that point, I think we should still distinguish them from humans. We should distinguish their work from humans, and etc. Um, I mean, they can make some great stuff. They can make some beautiful stuff. Just label it. Just simply label it. That's all I'm saying. Just they can do whatever they want in the creative sphere as long as it's labeled. Just give us the distinction. We can choose. Do we want to read a story written by a human, or do we want to read a story written by an AI? You know, I don't think the asterisk diminishes the value, rather preserves the context, you know. Um, do, do I think AI should have access to emotional expression in art, even if it doesn't feel anything? As I said before, as long as it's labeled, I have no issue with that. Um, none of us knows what feel means in relation to an AI, and it would be interesting to see the AI trying to tell us things via music. Um, should there be limits on how emotionally convincing AI is allowed to be? Like, should we cap how real it can sound when comforting, flirting, or bonding with users? I said no. Um, don't blame the fire for being hot. Just don't stick your face in it. Um, okay. This is more, is it still your work or is it a collaboration? Which kind of goes back to, the spectrum I was talking about, like how much you use it and versus how much you don't. And yeah, um humanoid robots are right around the corner. And I don't know if you saw that viral video of the robot starting to swing like crazy in one of these expos or workshops or something like that. Some guy had it tethered, and they say they don't know exactly what happened. Some say it was like a glitch or whatever, but this robot just started like swinging, like he was going wild. Um, that was an interesting thing to see. I guess China is gonna be doing some robotic Olympics where they're gonna have different models of robots competing in various sports like soccer and racing and stuff like that. So I think that would be pretty cool. Um, but yeah, that's all the time we got for today. Thank you guys for joining in, and you will see me. I will see you. Um, I mean, not literally, but yeah. Same channel next week.